Hi, everybody. I'm John Self, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. Today, we're talking about the politics of office politics. We're delighted you're with us today. We got a full schedule, and we also have a great lecture planned for tomorrow for office hours that will be available to everyone at noon. And it's about how to accelerate your job search, and with some market information and some specific actionable plans to help you expand your job search and accelerate the time it takes. So today, let's get started with our feature, and we want to add it to the stage now, the politics of office politics. So the first thing we want to ask you to do is, if you have chats or comments you want to make, please drop them in the box below. We'll try to respond as those things come forward. And we hope that we will hope that you'll leave us comments if you have questions, or if you even just want to mention where you're watching from today. That would be terrific. This will be carried will be carried later on a replay on our John G. Self Guiding Your Career channel on YouTube. So we hope that you will join us. If you hear about this or you looked at your schedule and missed it, it'll be available for our members later today. You know, office politics, it's the game we love to hate. You know, some things we hate regular, office politics universally is hated badly. I found this quote and I've cleaned it up a bit for the faint at heart. But those who stir the blank pot should have to lick the spoon. And you know, there are a lot of people that really use office politics in a way that's really contrary to the benefits to the customers and the employees. And today, we also want to talk about, you know, what happens, why this happens, but also talk about there are some good things that can happen from office politics. First of all, our agenda today is a bad rap, the myths, negative impact, positive elements, leverage relationships for success. Those are all things that So one of the things we want to talk about today is you cannot sit on the sidelines and expect to avoid office politics and still have a successful career, because quite frankly, sitting on the sidelines can be costly, and especially in periods of continuous layoffs that are beginning to happen across the country. We've had massive layoffs in October, November. We've already had some big layoffs in technology here in January. But now companies are saying we're now going to keep adjusting our headcount throughout the year to be sure that we are able to manage and achieve investment for our goals and priorities from cash-driven assets and not just growth. So who will advocate for you? You're playing the political game is no rad badge of courage. In fact, in a layoff, not engaging in office politics may give you a ticket to the next door, to the exit door. I don't like the drama. I'm not into playing games. I come to work to make a positive contribution. This is a royal distraction. I've heard that many times. It is beneath me to engage these people. Why can't we just focus on the customers? These are things that are said all the time when we're talking about office politics. I'm better than those political players. I care more about the company's success. Well, okay, there are people that believe this, and they're living proof that moral superiority continues to exist. Um, well, Peter, you say you can't hear me, and I'm picking it up live on LinkedIn. Try it over there and see if you can find it live on LinkedIn. I'm sorry that you can't. You're not able to hear us. We planned this really carefully, and so it's not coming through very well. So I'm not sure why that is. And so it is. It's also good sound on YouTube. So check your settings on your computer. Peter, one of our loyal followers and one of our members, and we're glad to appreciate your feedback, Peter. Okay, great. You can hear us now. I'm glad to hear that. So people sometimes think, well, I'm superior to that. I don't need to do the office politics. Well, the fact of the matter is you really do. And don't be morally superior, because that does nothing but really disadvantage you. Okay, the negative impact of a toxic formula. Okay, office politics exist, but it's really important that you have a good management team to harness that natural human interaction and produce some benefits from it. But if you have weak management, if you have unchecked bad behaviors, in other words, we can't really punish this bully or this jerk because he's a big producer, he's a great salesman, our biggest customer thinks he's wonderful. Those people unchecked, that's a problem. Silos with reinforced self-serving concrete. Informal employee leaders and influencers who are more concerned with their power than customer needs. Those people are also very dangerous. And the CEO and the CHRO, if those things exist, they own that mess. And they are just as responsible as anybody else. And the sum total is, it's a recipe for failure. So now, if you accept a job with that toxic brew, you've made a huge career mistake. It would kind of be like walking along on Interstate 20 without any clothes on. Somewhere along the line, you made a real serious error. And you have to be very, very careful when you're looking for employment. Now, some people are really, really concerned about how long it's taking to find a job, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow on office hours at noon Central Time. But you must still pay attention to the issues at hand when you're looking for a job, and to pick up the hints. Why is the position open? That's a legitimate question. How many times has it been open in 5 years? That's a very telling question. What are the employee satisfaction scores? That'll tell you how committed the company is to maintaining a healthy, engaged workplace. And what's the company's turnover rate? I always felt like, part of the problems we have with office politics is the same that we have with the turnover problem. The CEOs don't report any of that to their board, and so they're not held accountable for it. But those are things you should ask when you're looking for a job, and don't hesitate to ask those questions. If they kick you out of the consideration because you've asked those questions, you're talking to the wrong people. So I would encourage you to really think about the things you're observing during the interview process. Even though a lot of it's being virtual now, you still can pick up some of the hints. And so you also have to be really prepared in a virtual setting to ask a lot of questions. Now, the law of unintended consequences. I don't like politics. I don't like playing politics. I'm not any good at playing politics, so I'm not going to play politics. Well, guess what happens? You can be the odd person out in a layoff. Executives who were laid off were judged not to be as valuable as those who kept their jobs. And guess what? Sometimes those decisions are based on legitimate metrics, a legitimate quantifiable information. But a lot of times those decisions about who lives and who dies, who stays and who goes, are made based on relationships and informal sort of networking. And so if you're not engaged in the networking, if you are not playing the politics, then you put yourself at risk of being one of the people that's laid off. And I will tell you that is extremely common. And as a recruiter who spent 27 years in the executive search arena, I heard that so many hundreds, thousands of times, why people lost their last job. Well, I got laid off. Why did you get laid off and somebody else didn't get laid off? Why you say you were a top performer and yet you got laid off? What happened? It's not because they did something wrong necessarily. What they did wrong was they didn't engage. They didn't get involved in and build relationships within the office network. Playing politics has a negative connotation, but networking internally, which is what it really is is okay. So I would encourage you to flip your whole perception of what office politics is all about and make it into an internal networking process. Now, the big idea today, yes, there are positive elements to office politics. And you have to understand how to do this. You have to understand what to look for in the process. So let's talk about some steps to avoid being dispensable. I told my son once that the great goal as an employee is to be indispensable, because if you're indispensable, if you are a top performer, if you have built networks within the company, the chances are you will not be getting the tap on the shoulder for the layoff. First, do your homework. Okay? Identify who the company players are, who the influencers are, the critics, the sharpshooters, and the bullies. Why, who are these people? Where are these people in the organization? Who are they connected to? You've got to do your homework, and you just can't ask direct questions. You've got to be a little bit of a detective. And the company players, we're going to go through this so you'll kind of pick up some traits. Then you make your choices on, once you do that process of identifying people, you then begin to develop the network of people you want to connect with and you want to build relationships with. Now, the company players. This is someone who values the employer more than anything else in his life and is willing to do whatever the company needs. Now, with these people, if you get into an ethical dilemma, be cautious in ethical conflicts, because they may be the person who's willing to fall on their sword for the company. In healthcare, I saw this many times where people would play games with the accounts receivable. They would play games with the contractual adjustments on Medicare to make the financial statements look better, because they were so committed to the company. They were so committed to their boss. That commitment is really important. But these company players, there is a downside. There is a weak underbelly that you have to take into account. And sometimes they can be very good allies, but you have to be careful. Now, the influencers, these are the people who really take pride in like being in the know. And they will go to great lengths to pick up on all the gossip and every other piece of information. And they will use their communication skills to advocate for decisions they prefer. They will use their communication skills to kind of diss people they don't like, because they enjoy having that sphere of influence. And people listen to them, particularly managers. Now, sharpshooters, these are people who take pride in quickly sorting out problems or offering spot-on analysis. And they can be subject matter gurus. These are people that you always want to be around. The bullies, now these are the dangerous game players who seek to have power over others. If you give it to them, they will take it and make your life miserable. There are bullies in every office politics, kind of matrix. So you have to understand those people, and you have to learn ways to deal with them. And the best way to deal with a bully is just to kind of laugh and say, "Oh, I can't believe you're being that. You really believe something that way." Just dismiss them, because bullies at their core are insecure people, and they cannot stand up to being ridiculed. Now, critics, in my experience, these people can be very dangerous, because bullies try to hurt you through humiliation, but critics are about killing things off, including people who advocate for ideas the critics do not like. A very famous New York columnist who wrote for the New York Post and then left to decamp to the Newsday, the Long Island newspaper, said, "A critic is someone who enters the battlefield after the war is over and then shoots the survivors." So you have to be careful with critics. Now, a critic can be very useful to you in networking, but you just have to understand their complexity and the full scope of who they are. And the same with some of the other people. The only person that you probably want to stay away from is the bully. But the company man, those people can be very useful, very helpful. The influencers, the sharpshooters, they are all people that you need to get to know, but you need to understand who they are and understand what their tendencies are. Now, there are the positive elements in the office network, of the politics of the office network. And I really think that you really need to really consider that. First of all, fundamental principles of career networking apply. So the networking that you must do for your career externally with strategically aligned networking people to help you find your next better job, it's the same principle except you apply it internally. And the strategy is driven by the personality of the colleagues and their style, the company players, the influencers, the sharpshooters, the bullies, and the critics. You just need to understand those people and then adjust your networking communication and how you build your relationships based on those characteristics. Now, if you accept a paycheck from a company, you must play this game to survive. There are too many people. I mean, it's just amazing how really top performers in a company who don't play the politics, who are the kind of I'm better than that individuals. They're the ones that get big surprises on layoff days. You cannot sit on the sidelines and assume that that's the safe place for you to be. Okay? It is absolutely the wrong place to be. Now, there's a cautionary note. Remember that the toes you step on today may be attached to the ass that you may have to kiss tomorrow. Who said that? I'm not sure, but boy, is that ever true. So you have to be very, very strategic, and you have to leverage successful relationships for success. You have to learn the rules of the game and then play them better than anyone else. So this is not a practice in the office that you can just dilly-dally. You don't want to be banging pots and pans around saying, "Oh, look, I'm networking." But what you do want to master is to understand the rules of office politics, the rules of internal networking, the various personality types within internal networking, and then build relationships based on that information. Leverage those relationships for your success. People that have built strong relationships that are effective workers who have a good performance are usually the ones that avoid the layoffs. Now, building relationships, I think, is one of the things people mistake, and they think that relationships are all about me and what I can get out of it. And the truth is, relationships, the people who are really successful at building relationships, the people that are really successful at networking, are the people that put the other people's needs first, as that quote said at the outset of the presentation today. Those are issues that that's the way they approach it. They want people they want to understand others, and they want those people to feel understood. They want to be validated, and this takes time. And this is all built around trust. So it's really, really key for you to have the strategy and the patience and the authenticity and the honesty to build true relationships. If you have any questions, let me know. Now, there's some important takeaways to this. First of all office politics is a fact of life, and I've watched it my entire career. I've been caught several times in the mess. I learned my lessons the hard way. Negative implications are undeniable, including layoffs. So if you don't play the game, or if you don't play it well, there are consequences. Now, you don't have to allow yourself to be dragged into the petty name calling, the silo building, and those types of things. What you need to do is have information and stay above it, but build relationships and then help people if they need the help. Offering to help people is a strong, strong relationship building tactic. The positive implications, if you know the rules and play better than everyone else, you will be successful. Your career will continue. You will probably be able to avoid layoffs. And the energy to boost your career. This will fuel your attempt to grow within the company or to grow in the industry. Now, let's talk about something called continuous layoffs or just-in-time employment. That concept of inventory now seems to be applied to how we manage our workforce. We're seeing across the board, initially in big tech companies like Google, Amazon, and some others, where they are now saying, we anticipate throughout the year to be laying off people in certain areas based on our business needs, versus our expense needs. a lot of these companies like Google is saying our years of incredible record skyrocketing growth are over, and that we now realize that we're going to have to fund our investment in key priorities from within continuing operations. How do you do that? You cut your expenses. How do you do that? You lay off people. And so instead of having these massive layoffs based on declines in sales, companies are now beginning to say, we're going to have layoffs not based on decline in sales, but based on our need to invest in key priorities. And this will affect healthcare. Perhaps it won't be affecting the clinical people, but if you are an administrative or support person, then this is something that you absolutely need to be aware of. Just-in-time employment. You may be laid off, or you may be hired on a contract basis. And a lot of people say, nope, not going to do that. I can't. If I can't work full-time for the company, I don't want to work for them. Listen, if you're looking for a job and you get a contract offer and it's a decent amount of money, don't just automatically rule that out, okay? Because the job market's changing. It's changing really dramatically, and that full-time employment gig with an employer with benefits, that's kind of beginning to change. It's morphing. And yes, there will continue to be full-time jobs and benefits and all that stuff. But a lot of people with a lot of skills that heretofore would have been full-time employees are now going to be part of the gig economy, or they're going to find themselves laid off periodically, brought back, laid off. And it might as well, in that case, you might as well have your own gig economy. You might as well manage your own career and be the CEO of you, so that you can get top dollar for that type of employment arrangement. But regardless of what you do, when you go into a company, you have to understand, big or small, church, school, manufacturing, services industry, there is an established political network, a set of relationships, a set of people who have intentions that may not always be in the best interest of the company. Excuse me. And their intentions really are about them. How do I get more money? How do I make myself look better at somebody else's expense? You just need to be able to identify who those people are. And you do that by understanding that, yes, there's a negative aspect to office politics. However, there is also an extremely important element to build relationships so that you rise up above the politics. You rise up in terms of your performance, how you treat people, the relationships you build with them, the trust you build, so that you are successful and you take that strong reputation to your next better job. So I hope that's been helpful. Now, as we close out today, I want to share with you some important news. I want to ask you to consider joining our new career community. It is really, we think it's going to be a very valuable thing. Career management is not just finding a job. Job search is not just when you actually need a job. There are so many elements to this now with a new automated environment that you're going to have to be more intentional about managing your career. You're going to have to be more intentional about building your network. And when you do have to conduct a job search, you're going to have to be up to date with the latest changes and trends and what employers are looking for and how you must respond to their needs. And today, a lot of people are struggling in the job market because they are not up to date. So what benefits do you get by being a member? First of all, the cost we think is reasonable, $49 a month. If you disagree, let us know. We're happy to consider, to be sure that we are meeting the needs of the market. Now, if you become a charter member, and the first 150 people will be considered charter members, your membership fee is locked in. There is no contract. We want to earn your support each month. You will have access to all of our online on-demand courses. You'll get a weekly newsletter. The one just came out Sunday at noon, and there's another one coming out this upcoming weekend. You have access to discounted live one-on-one coaching sessions, and then we have week group coaching session. This week, we have Lunch and Learn today. We're talking about office politics. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to accelerate add velocity to your job search, and we will be giving you some specific ideas of how to do that, the strategies you have to deploy to be successful in doing that. So we're here to help you stay current with your career. Again, career management is not something you just pull out when you need a job, or hey, I want to get a promotion. Maybe I need to start managing my career now. No, it's something that has to be ongoing. It has to be intentional, and it has to be based on a plan with strategy and tactics. That's the reality today. The people who say, nope, I'm not going to do that because I've never had to do it in the past, and that just sounds like a lot of work. Guess what? It is. Guess what? If you don't, it's at your own peril. So if you have questions, call us. We're happy to talk to you and explain the realities. Check out tomorrow our office hours. That's normally a members only feature, but tomorrow, because of the subject matter, we're opening it up to everyone. So you'll be able to see office hours tomorrow. If you're a member, on our members page on Facebook. It'll be on our YouTube page at Guiding Your Career, John G. Self, and it'll be on our LinkedIn page. So we hope that you'll check out tomorrow. If you don't have any questions, we will sort of wrap things up today so you can finish up your lunch and get back to work. I really want you to know how much we appreciate you joining us. I'm sorry for the little technical glitch. I think every week I'm mastering the technology, and this week we had a problem we'd never encountered before, and that was distortion of slides. So I'm not sure why that happened, so we'll be doing research to be sure that the experience in the future is much better than that. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow at noon Central Time for office hours.